All right, everybody, welcome back to RCT Creations. We are on flight 4 of my coaster rankings. If you have not heard my explanation for the first 3, and this is the first one you're tuning into, well, welcome. I put out a post on my YouTube page a little while ago asking if you guys would be interested in seeing my coaster rankings. I've ridden 241 so far in my life, and I have never actually sat down to rank them. Of course, I've had my theories. I'm pretty sure I know what my number 1 is, but why not go ahead and see how the rankings fall out. So I've done 3 flights already. So I took all 241 and I broke them down into about 50 coaster flights. This is flight 4. We're going through and using a bias sorter where you pick one and then it continues on until it sorts all of them in rankings. Buckle in, they're usually about 50 plus minutes long, so and I'll link the bias sorter in the description below in case maybe, hey, you want to do the same thing. But we'll go ahead and get kicked off here, and our first matchup is Roar at Six Flags America and Professor Screamore's Skywinder, also at Six Flags America. So when a coaster pops up for the first time, I kind of like to give a brief description of it, and then I'll usually mention what it is throughout the process. But getting kicked off here, we have Roar, which is an old school GCI wooden coaster, and then Skywinder is a Vekoma SLC, a standard layout. Unfortunately, both of these, the SFA stands for Six Flags America, which as of right now is standing but not operating. Its last days were in early November of 2025, and now we are in the new year of 2026. As of right now, of the recording of this, all the coasters are still standing. However, their trains have been shipped off to their new destinations. Skywinder's trains have actually ended up over at Canada's Wonderland. So, Flight Deck is their SLC, so hopefully soon that'll be running the Vest trains. And then Roar, I don't know if we know where those trains have been sent off yet, but I'm sure we will shortly. Unfortunately, both of these are probably going to meet the same fate. Roar, definitely going to be brought down to the ground, I believe, unfortunately, and then Skywinder also probably will, which actually kind of surprised me. They just did a ton of work on this ride. I believe it was formerly Mind Eraser. There's another name Six Flags usually used to have for these. I think Kong was the other one, but I'm pretty sure it was a Mind Eraser. But they actually did a lot of work on it, and when I rode it, I thought it actually ran really well. And then Roar at Six Flags America being that old school style GCI. Roar was actually the last GCI wooden coaster to run the 2-bench PTC trains. So that was kind of interesting. But between these two, Roar, I actually didn't mind. It was not smooth when I rode it, that's for sure. I rode it in 2024, so 1 year before its final year in 2025. And then Skywinder I actually was pretty impressed by. I ended up riding Skywinder more than once. Due to time restraints, I kind of didn't have a whole lot of time to ride everything because we wanted to try to get to King's Dominion later that day. Roar I rode once in the front seat. Skywinder I rode twice. And with that in mind, I actually really didn't mind Skywinder, and I think I'm going to roll that way. Batwing at Six Flags America, Firebird Six Flags America. Batwing, one of 2 Vekoma Flying Dutchmans I've actually gotten to ride. I was so surprised when this thing was open and I actually got the chance to ride it when I was there. Very fortunately, because it was not open for very long in 2025 before it had a couple incidents and was done. Firebird originally opened as Iron Wolf at Six Flags Great America and was a stand-up coaster until it was converted into a floorless fairly recently, actually. And between these two, the answer to me is very obvious, and it's going to be Batwing at Six Flags America. Firebird was not smooth, and it did not run great. And I mean, it was B&M's first attempt, but I was really disappointed that it was not smooth. It was very vibraty, it was very jolty. But yeah, Batwing is the easy answer here. Batman the Ride at Six Flags Over Georgia against Superman Ride of Steel at Six Flags America. Superman Ride of Steel, really good layout. Darien Lake has a mirror image. Actually, I guess the one at Six Flags America is the mirror image of the one at Darien Lake. Batman the Ride at Six Flags Over Georgia is a clone of Batman at Six Flags Great America. And there are 2 Batman the Ride clones that I hold high above the other ones I've been on. And the 2 are the one at Six Flags Over Georgia, and the one at Six Flags Great America. Superman Ride of Steel I also really enjoyed, and honestly, if it just had the original T-bar trains, I probably would have liked it and probably would have picked it in this matchup. However, it had, well, in the last year, this year, or not this year, it's 2026 now. In 2025, it did run with just like a recreation, two brand new trains from Intamin with just the T-bars without the extra, shin guards and stuff. And I think that would have made a world of difference for this ride, but I got to go with Batman the Ride, and it's not particularly close because I mean the trains on this made my hips cramp, and it was just awful on the second ride. But the layout was good, but unfortunately it just couldn't hold up with the trains it had. But Batman pretty easy there. All right, a couple rare credits: Six Flag or Cosmic Coaster, Kid Flash Cosmic Coaster, red or yellow, at Six Flags Over Georgia. I didn't really have a strong preference either way. I did think the red layout was slightly better. I felt really bad because the grouper that was at the ride trying to split guests evenly, I really wanted to ride the yellow side on the second row around, and he really wanted to put me on the red side, but I kind of stood my ground. I felt really bad about it. He was being as nice as he could be. But I'm going to pick the red side there. Okay. If you're from Georgia, I've had someone from Georgia tell me how to pronounce this before, so I apologize if I pronounce this wrong. I think it's Dahlonega. I think that's right. If I'm wrong, please spell it out for me in the comments, because I think I am. But Mine Train at Six Flags Over Georgia, Twisted Cyclone, Six Flags Over Georgia. This is an easy one. The Mine Train was okay, probably on the lower end of the Mine Trains I've been on. Twisted Cyclone, while at the lower end of the RMCs, it's still an RMC, so that's our choice there. Great American Scream Machine at Over Georgia, Superman Ultimate Flight at Over Georgia. Now, the Superman Ultimate Flight at Over Georgia, I'm going to hold in slightly better regards than the one at Great America or Great Adventure. The one at Over Georgia was the original. It opened, I believe, if not the same year, it was the year after as Air at Alton Towers. This one is a terrain coaster, and it actually runs really well. I just wish it had the extra row of seats that the other two have, because this one only has 7 cars, whereas the ones at Great America and Great Adventure have 8. But between these two, Great American Scream Machine I was not horribly impressed with, unfortunately. I thought it was kind of it just kind of was there. It was rough, was not horribly smooth at all. But I mean, that's kind of the nature of it. And they've done work on it, but I mean, it just didn't do much for me. So I'm going to go with Superman Ultimate Flight. Now, Georgia Scorcher and Goliath. Scorcher, actually a really good stand-up coaster. If you hate stand-up coasters, you probably won't like this one either, but this one does run really well comparatively, and I actually really liked it. Goliath, however, is one of the better B&M hypers. 9-car train, really good first drop, and then the upwards helix on this thing. So Nitro at Great Adventure has the upwards helix into the mid-course. Goliath at Over Georgia has the downward helix that is absolutely incredible. And it's the first B&M Hyper to not feature a mid-course brake run, so it can only run a maximum of 2 trains. However, the final airtime hills are just absolutely out of this world good. Like, I'd put them up there with the final 2 hills of Fury 325 in the front rows. I'm going to go with Goliath on that one. Hurricane at Fun Spot Atlanta and Sea Serpent at Fun Spot Atlanta. Rode this one just for the credits. Their kiddie coaster. And then Hurricane is, I believe, a miler. Like one of their, I could call them, is it like a super miler or something like that? But I thought it was okay. It wasn't smooth, but it's definitely the choice here. Oh, jeez. Woodstock Express at Kings Island against Air Force One at Fun Spot Atlanta. Woodstock Express is the standard family kid wooden coaster layout that Taft Broadcasting built at their park. So Kings Island has one, Kings Dominion has one, Carowinds has one, I think. And then there was one at Wonderland Australia as well. But these are pretty solid for, what they're supposed to be. However, going up against Air Force One of the best RMCs to date, only runs 5 cars, but it is a phenomenal ride. I think the best airtime moment I have ever experienced is the double up, the top of the double up on this ride. Just absolutely crazy. The stall on it's great. Outward bank airtime hill, and it has a dive loop. Airy Force 1 is just such a good ride. Orion at Kings Island, Mystic Timbers at Kings Island. These two are pretty close. I do like Orion a lot. It was the first when I first went back to Kings Island. This was the coaster I went back to. Mystic Timbers, though, I think outshines it. I like the theming on Mystic Timbers a lot. I love like the sound of like the like warnings going up the lift hill. The shed is a fun little thing. I know a lot of people when it was announced and it first opened were disappointed with it, but I think it's a fun little thing. I'm actually going to go with Mystic Timbers in this one. The Demon at Six Flags Great America and Sprocket Rockets also at Six Flags Great America. I've been going to Six Flags Great America for 4 years before I finally caught this thing open. It's usually one of the first rides they cut when they're short on staffing, and I usually visit either at the very beginning of the season or the very end of the season. And I finally caught a ride on Demon. I thought it was pretty solid. Arrow Looper, Sprocket Rockets, a Vekoma family coaster. In this case, Demon, double looping arrow, 2 corkscrews, helix. The theming on this thing's incredible. The rocks are gone. They were gone when I rode it. The first time I visited, the rock work was still there, but it was gone when I got to ride it. But I love the theme song in the station. I love like the mouth you dive through as you head to the corkscrews, the lights and the tunnels. The Demon is the answer there. Mind Blower at Fun Spot Kissimmee, Galaxy Spin at Fun Spot Kissimmee. Neither of these rides are out of this world. Galaxy Spin is okay. I've been on a better version of that at one of the parks that's been featured in this video, actually. But Mind Blower, man, this ride was not good when I rode it. And I think it was 2023, or maybe it was early 2024. Just not good at all. I gotta go Galaxy Spin. It was not good. Busch Gardens Tampa, Cobra's Curse or Monsu. These two coasters are right next to each other. Monsu, one of the gold standards for B&M inverts. Phenomenal ride, huge, long ride time. Cobra's Curse, very solid, but definitely more of a family coaster. And unfortunately, for my preferences, Montu is very intense, which definitely works in its favor. Cobra's Curse, if it was against something else, definitely has a shot in down the line, but this has got to be Montu. Cheetah Hunt versus Kumba. I have an issue with Cheetah Hunt. Not that the layout's bad, but unfortunately, due to my height, my shoulders are like crushed by the intimate over the shoulders it has, which is very weird because King Daka's over the shoulders didn't do that to me, and Maverick's original hard over the shoulders didn't do that to me either. But the ones in Cheetah Hunt are just a little bit tighter, so they really crushed my shoulders, so I just could not enjoy Cheetah Hunt at all. Kumba, classic B&M sit-down looper, intense, phenomenal ride. Finally reopened after being closed for about a year, if not a year and a half. Got a couple rides on it near the end of 2025. Kumba's my choice here. Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket and White Lightning at Fun Spot Orlando. Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket at Universal Studios Florida. This thing kind of has a cult following. There's a lot of people that really like it. It's kind of weird. It's still bizarre that Universal went with Mauer of all companies for a ride like this, but I think all in all, White Lightning, a GCI wooden coaster at Fun Spot Orlando. It's a smaller version. I think it only runs 6-car trains, but the layout's actually pretty solid. I don't have any issues with it. I was not a fan of Rip Ride Rocket. I thought the theme was not good. The replaying speech in the queue line was really annoying. So I'm going to go with White Lightning on that one. Now we have Velocicoaster Islands of Adventure and Incredible Hulk V2 Islands of Adventure. V1 was in the first episode, so if you've watched this far, we are now at version 2, which actually, if you go from the original Hulk, which ran from 1999 to 2015 before it had to close, we are only 6 years away. Now 5 as we hit 2026. We are only about 5 years away from the second rendition getting to the same point the original did. So I'm a little worried about that. So I hope this guy can stick around. But between these two, Velocicoaster, Intamin LSM coaster, uses the new restraints. The seating on this one actually sits a little higher up compared to a ride like Pantheon at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. So the whip and the Mosasaurus roll on this ride is absolutely crazy. It's a barrel roll right at the end, right above the water. The theming, the Jurassic World theming, is out of this world good. The queue is phenomenal as well. Velocicoaster is the easy answer here, although I do think Incredible Hulk stands a shot. I really do. But yeah, this ride, absolutely phenomenal. We're gonna go Velocicoaster right here. Pipeline and Icebreaker. This one is absolutely in. This is kind of a hard one, in my opinion. Um, Icebreaker's really good. It really is. Um, but Pipeline is like the new gen B&M stand-up coaster. And the first time I rode this thing, I did not expect my feet to leave the floor. It's got that surfing thing. I don't know if it's spring loaded, that the seats are spring loaded or something like that. But like when you go over those airtime hills and your feet leave the floor and your seat like jumps, did not expect that. Icebreaker's very good. It's usually got a really long line, and both times I've been to SeaWorld Orlando, it's only been running one train. And since it's got kind of the lower height restriction, it usually builds a pretty long line. Pipeline usually does too. Also, only been running one train when I've been there, but there was a visit I had in November 25 where I got to ride it a lot, and I really liked it. So Pipeline's my answer there. Manta at SeaWorld Orlando and Kraken at SeaWorld Orlando. This is this is the classic B&M showdown at SeaWorld. The first two large scale coasters there. Kraken, the floorless coaster, really good ride. Manta also very good, a bigger B&M flying coaster. Between these two, um, this is pretty tough because Kraken really is really good. It's a very solid looping roller coaster, but I think Manta is better. I love the pretzel loop, and I think it just kind of glides around much better than like the Superman Ultimate Flight clones do. Which I mean, they kind of do the same thing, but I love the dive right above the water. I love the placement of this ride right at the front of the park. And I also like the placement of Kraken near the back, but it doesn't have the same presence I imagine it did before Mako was there. But I'm going to go with Manta on that one. Okay, so here's Raging Cajun, the other example of Galaxy Spin. I think they're actually the same ride. One of them might be, I can't remember the original company. I know Zamperla bought them out. Reverchon, that's it. I think Raging Cajun was a Reverchon, and I think Galaxy Spin is a Zamperla, but they're one and the same now. And then Skywinder is the Vekoma SLC. Really smooth, really like Skywinder. Raging Cajun spun like crazy. This ride was awesome. I could not get over how like nuts it was. It was the last coaster I needed at Six Flags America. It went down for a little bit. I was able to get back on it. So I got on all the coasters there. But I gotta go with Skywinder here. And then Roar as well. I think between these two, I gotta go Roar. Batwing at Six Flags America against Wild One at Six Flags America. This is a ride I regret I only rode once. And we rode it in the second to back row. I think if I had ridden it more, and I was originally going to go on closing weekend for Six Flags America and try to get one of the last rides on this thing, but it just didn't work out, unfortunately. Batwing at SFA, I got to ride 3 times, and it's funny because I knew this one I wouldn't get to ride again after that visit. So I rode it 3 times, knowing it'd be my last chance to ride the Flying Dutchman. I did not know this park was going to close, though, and had I known that, I definitely would have ridden Wild One and we would have stayed till close that day. But between these two, based on the rides I did get, I got to go Batwing. But if we're comparing Wild to Firebird, it's definitely going to be Wild One. Batman the Ride at Over Georgia, Joker's Jinx at Six Flags America. This is an easy choice for me. Joker's Jinx, they premier rides. Spaghetti Bowl coaster outdoors compared to the Flight of Fears, although they do feature the exact same layout. I gotta go Batman the Ride here. Superman Ride of Steel and Joker's Jinx. I gotta go Superman on that. Daredevil Dive at Six Flags Over Georgia compared to Kid Flash. Kid Flash is fine. It vibrated pretty bad for a brand new coaster, and that's very unfortunate for Skyline Attractions. I was really hoping they could finally get something, but they just were not that great. Even when I was at Over Georgia, they both had a ton of issues. I gotta go Daredevil Dive on that solid Gerstlauer Eurofighter. Twisted Cyclone, Six Flags Over Georgia, Riddler Mindbender, formerly known as just Mindbender, but they decided to add the DC theming to it when they put the new trains on it. And I thought Mindbender was okay. It didn't really do any. I thought it'd be better. I really did. It had a good airtime moment on it. And I think it would have been better had it still been running the original 7-car trains from Schwarzkopf. But now it runs 2 trains, I believe, from Gerstlauer that only have 5 cars in a train. And it just doesn't have the same speed I imagine it did at one time. And Twisted Cyclone, like I said before, while being kind of a bottom tier RMC, a bottom tier RMC is still a pretty darn close to elite coaster, if not an elite coaster. And while it's really short, what's there is really good, so we gotta go Twisted Cyclone. Dahlonega Mine Train. I still don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. We're just gonna call it Mine Train from here on out. Mine Train at Six Flags Over Georgia against Mindbender. I gotta go Mindbender. Superman Ultimate Flight against the Chance Rides Joker Funhouse coaster. It's one of their. It's a larger version of their Big Dipper model, and Joker Funhouse coaster is actually pretty cool. For it being a tiny little thing, it actually has some decent forces when you get towards the end. I love the drop like through the structure at the end of the ride is really cool. I like the way it just kind of flies around. Finding the entrance to it's kind of a pain though. And then we have Superman Ultimate Flight, and the answer here is easy. It's Ultimate Flight. I'd also take Great American Scream Machine as well. Goliath, the B&M Hyper against Blue Hawk, which is a Vekoma looping coaster. It's kind of like the modern take on like what Ninja at Six Flags St. Louis is. It originally featured the hard over-the-shoulder restraints, but when I've ridden it, or since I rode it as Blue Hawk, it has the vests. It's actually pretty decent. I rode it multiple times while I was there, and I actually really did enjoy it. Unfortunately, right now, though, it's going up against Goliath, which is a pretty high-tier B&M Hyper, so we got to go that way. And Georgia Scorcher being one of the better B&M stand-ups, I think I'd also take that over Blue Hawk. Hurricane the Miler against Airy Force 1, not even close. We're going that way. And then Woodstock Express at Kings Island, their family wooden coaster. Really cool idea, I also want to say, behind those rides. I love the fact that those parks opened with like the racing wooden coasters and then the family wooden coasters, so you both kind of got the same experience on a smaller scale. Hurricane at Fun Spot, Atlanta, the EF Miler, the High Miler, I think that's what they call it. They're okay, but they're not great. We got to go Woodstock Express. Mystic Timbers Kings Island Woodstock's Air Rail, which is the Vekoma Suspended Family Coaster, or SFC. There's a reason these are called Vekoma Hang and Bangs. They're not smooth, even though you think they're smaller scale. They're not terrible, but they're not good. Mystic Timbers is an elite GCI, so we got to go that way. And then we have Orion, the B&M Giga Coaster, which, if it's not elite, it's pretty close. We got to go that way. Demon at Six Flags Great America against Little Dipper. Little Dipper, very, very similar to what something like Woodstock Express at Kings Island is. I don't think the layouts are the same, but they're pretty close. A small family wooden coaster. I'm really glad that Legacy Six Flags did save this thing, because the park it was originally at closed, and they actually relocated it to Six Flags Great America. So it actually opened at that park in like the 2010s or something like that. And I'm really glad it's there, because it's a nice little ride. It's nice to have a family coaster that's actually, unique to that category. But going up against Demon, again, I love the theme. I'm a sucker for old Aero coasters, so we're going that way. Although if you're putting the 2 kiddie coasters at Great America against each other, I'm going to pick Little Dipper every time. In the back row of those little wooden coasters, if you're an enthusiast and you need to get the credit, try to ride them in the back. There's actually a pretty good pull off the lift on those things. Galaxy Spin against Harry Potter Escape from Gringotts. Not really a fair comparison. Escape from Gringotts is a universal level dark ride that also is a coaster built by Intamin. Not a whole lot of coaster elements on it, but it is still a coaster. And if you're talking overall ride, Gringotts has to be it, even if I'm not the biggest fan of Harry Potter. Montu and Tigris at Busch Gardens Tampa Bay. Montu elite B&M invert, as I said before. It's huge. It's probably the gold standard for what a B&M invert should be. If there are elite B&M inverts, Montu is definitely one of them. Tigris is a premier skyrocket too. Rode it in November of 2025, and it's recently actually removed the comfort collars on it, which I'm sure have improved it. But Montu is going to win here, no question. If you're going between Tigress and Cobra's Curse, the unique elements on Cobra's Curse really elevate it for me. I love that you go through the first part forward, you go through that elevator lift, you spin around, and it just holds you backwards for like a helix. You go up a lift hill backwards, and then you start to free spin. The theming on it's great. The queue line on it's so detailed too. I gotta go Cobra's Curse. Oh, Scorpion and Kumba. So we have the beginning of the modern era looping coasters against a classic looping coaster from Schwarzkopf here. Between these two, it's Kumba by a pretty decent margin. Scorpion, a standard Schwarzkopf, one vertical loop, kind of spaghetti bowls around itself before it hit the brakes. Unfortunately, has been removed since. I wish they could have kept that ride, but I know a lot of people were upset when they removed it. But I mean, I bet they were starting to run out of spare parts, and new ones were getting pretty expensive to order. Because at some point, the spare parts are just going to go away, and you have to manufacture new stuff all the time. So the winner here is going to be Kumba, but I do respect Scorpion a lot. But Kumba it is. Between Cheetah Hunt and Scorpion, I really want to ride Cheetah Hunt again. It was closed on my last visit in 2025. Hopefully they can get that back up. I know they're actually doing work on it now. Scorpion, if I have to go off my last rides on these two, I gotta give it to Scorpion. Cheetah Hunt just crushed my shoulders. White Lightning, Fun Spot Orlando, the GCI mini wooden coaster against Iron Gwazi, the Goliath RMC at Busch Gardens. Rode this pretty recently in November of 25. Elite coaster. Unfortunately, on my last visit, I only got to ride it 3 times because it was running one train and the line built up pretty quick, even on a day where it wasn't horribly busy. Recently, they've actually added metal detectors to it. So you need to buy a locker. Can't bring your loose items in line anymore. But Iron Gwazi is just an elite coaster. Beyond vertical drop, the death roll is absolutely crazy. The air time's out of this world, and it just is. The pacing is ridiculous. So Iron Gwazi easily the answer there. Now, a battle of the Intamin LSM coasters at Islands of Adventure. Velocicoaster, the Thrill version, and I'd say Hagrid's is more the family version of the same model. Hagrid's does have the unique, feature where you can ride either in the sidecar, or on the bike, which is pretty cool. And for a longest time, I held a grudge against this ride before I rode it because it replaced Dueling Dragons. But after riding Hagrid's multiple times, it serves its purpose and it serves it well. It's a really good ride. Even if it didn't have Harry Potter theming, I think it'd be really good. The theming it does have elevates it, I think. But Velocicoaster is Hagrid's, but just scaled up to the thrill level. Velocicoaster, incredible ride. Up there for best coaster in this United States. And it battles back and forth for best in Florida, so that's what we're going with. Hulk and Hagrid's Magical Creatures. One thing Hulk has going for it, I really want to pick Hagrid's. And if I could ride it more, I probably would. The problem Hagrid's has is it's so popular and its capacity is not great. It always has, when the park opens for the day, it usually has a 2-hour line, and it's not going to drop below that. Hulk usually has the most I've seen it with is a 30-minute wait. And I don't even think it's because it's unpopular. There's always people out in front of it, but the capacity on these B&Ms is so high. You get 8 4-cars, you get 8 4-passenger cars. You get a lot of riders on these things. You use a single rider line. There's usually a group of 3 that you'll pair you with, so you can get right on the thing after you get through the metal detectors. I gotta go Hulk here. Mantis SeaWorld Orlando against Pipeline. Ooh, this is tough. I like Manta. I do. But Pipeline, I think, is next level good. I really hope someone else. I know there's been some disputes between Vekoma and B&M about this coaster, and I really hope they can get them resolved so that B&M can build more of them. Because what Pipeline does is just next level, and I gotta give it the edge there. If we're talking Manta and Icebreaker, again, if I could ride Icebreaker more, it's pretty short usually, and when it runs one train, it's brutal to wait in line for. Manta usually not too bad. I gotta go Manta. And same story with Kraken, really. Um, Icebreaker running one train is just a brutal wait, and it's just such a short ride that it doesn't really usually live up to it. Whereas Kraken, I mean, again, just like Hulk, it has eight 4-passenger cars, so it can hold a ton of people on it. Even if the ops aren't great, the line does move. I gotta go Kraken. Battle of the Vekomas from Six Flags America. We got Batwing and Skywinder. And while Skywinder was good, and it kind of demonstrates how good that SLC layout can be. Batwing, the Flying Dutchman, going through a vertical loop on your back is just a crazy experience. And I think the layout of these is actually better than the B&M one, so I gotta go with Batwing. Skywinder and Wild One. Again, wish I'd ridden Wild One more than once. I rode Skywinder twice because there was no line, and it was a good ride. If you're making me pick, though, I gotta go Wild One. Between Skywinder and Firebird, I gotta go Skywinder. Roar and Firebird, it's gotta be Roar. As much as I would like to pick Firebird over Raging Cajun, I just can't. Firebird just was not great. So these two coasters kind of have a unique spin for me. When I went to Georgia on my coaster trip, the first day I was at Over Georgia, both these rides were closed. The second day I was there, Daredevil Dive opened. The last day I was in Georgia, I flew out that night. Batman the Ride opened. I was so happy. And that thing had been closed for, I think, a month. And it runs so hot. It tore through that layout. It was incredible. As much as Daredevil Dive is a solid ride, it doesn't hold a candle to the Over Georgia Batman. And then Daredevil Dive and Superman Ride of Steel. If Superman Ride of Steel had better trains when I rode it at SFA, this wouldn't be close. It's closer now, but Superman is still the answer. And then with Joker's Jinx and Daredevil Dive, I mean, Joker's Jinx is just such a solid ride. All right, giving a complete switch up, we're going back to 2 Over Georgia coasters. The original Superman Ultimate Flight and Twisted Cyclone. Superman Ultimate Flight is really good, but it's really hard. Even if it's a low-end RMC, it's really hard to beat an RMC. And that's the way we got to go there. Superman Ultimate Flight against Riddler Mindbender. Again, if this was still in its original form and ran at 7-car trains and it was a little bit faster, I probably would have preferred this. The crew on it also was not good at all. And not because they were slow, but just because, and this is a problem Over Georgia has, it just seems like the crews there don't care. And I really hope that part gets better because there's a lot of potential there. But on this one, I got to go Superman Ultimate Flight. Really solid layout. The terrain elements help a lot on this thing, so we got to go that way. Although, if you're giving me Great American Scream Machine against Mindbender, I'd probably pick Mindbender, but again, the crew on this ride just really held it down a lot. The crew on Great American Scream Machine was actually great. I thought they were really good, but I gotta go Mindbender. Mine Train against Great American Scream Machine. I gotta go Great American Scream Machine. Funhouse Coaster against Mine Train. This one's pretty even, but I think I'll lean to Mine Train just because I think it's a little bit more unique. And that you could go either way with that. Now here is the battle of the best 2 coasters in Georgia, and they're both in Atlanta as well. Air Force One, absolutely elite ride, and it's not particularly close. Again, just insane. Best airtime moment of all time is on this ride. Now Goliath does a good mix of both being intense and giving good airtime. It has a good mix of both positive and negative G's. The downward helix, amazing on this ride. It made me gray out near the bottom. The airtime hills towards the end are also great. I also love when you pull up to the park and you drive underneath Goliath. But Air Force One, it's hard to compete with this ride. This is a darn near perfect ride. So that's the way we're going to go. Then Woodstock Express, while still solid for what it is, it's going up against Goliath Over Georgia, and that's an easy choice. I'd say the same thing about Scorcher. The best stand-up I've been on. Well, outside of Pipeline, Scorcher's the best stand-up I've been on. Blue Hawk, Another pretty easy choice there. Demon at Great America, and while I do have a soft spot for arrow loopers, and especially one like Demon, Mystic Timbers is an easy choice here. Orion, another easy choice there. Between Woodstock's Air Rail, though, I think I gotta go Demon there. And with Little Dipper and Woodstock's Air Rail, if I were to pick Woodstock Express and Woodstock's Air Rail, it'd be Woodstock Express. So Little Dipper wins there. Although between Sprocket Rockets and Woodstock's Air Rail, the uniqueness of it being an inverted coaster would make me lean that way. Montu and Gringotts. While Gringotts is a universal level attraction, these old school B&Ms are that good. I mean, Gringotts is it's good for what it is. You can kind of consider it, it's a dark ride essentially is what it is, but it does run on the coaster track, so that's why it's in here. But Montu at BGT is an elite tier B&M invert. And even Cobra's Curse, if you're more of a traditional coaster guy like I am, it does make this pretty easy. And Harry Potter's not my favorite franchise, so unfortunately that doesn't really hold this ride up either. So I gotta go Cobra's Curse. And then even Tigris at BGT, I gotta go that way. Now this is actually probably a closer battle for me than it would be for a lot of people. Being able to go back and ride Kumba again was pretty awesome. I really do like Kumba a lot. But I don't know if it quite holds it. Well, I can't say it does hold up to Iron Gwazi. Iron Gwazi is a phenomenal ride, elite tier coaster. I'd say Kumba's up near the bottom of the elite coasters because it's still really good and it does a really good job of what it's supposed to do, even for being built in 1993. I'm gonna say this now: if you hadn't had the chance to get down to Florida, try to find a flight down there or drive down there and get a ride on this thing. After its closure, that extended closure, I don't know how much time this ride really has left. And it is a really, really good ride that deserves some praise before it eventually reaches the end of its service life. But Iron Gwazi is going to win that one. Kumba's going to knock out White Lightning. White Lightning is going to knock out Scorpion. Scorpion is going to knock out Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket. Not a fan. Even Cheetah Hunt with it crushing my shoulders, I'd say knocks out Rip Ride Rocket. The unfortunate thing for this for Rip Ride Rocket, the thing I remember most is that awful Q-Line video it had. So that's the way I gotta go. Pipeline and Velocicoaster. This is actually an interesting battle. Unfortunately, Velocicoaster does have that universal level theming going for it. So I think that's the way I'm gonna go. And Velocicoaster again is probably the best ride in Florida. The airtime on it's incredible. The Raptors in the paddock are really good. Even the pre-show for this thing, listening to Chris Pratt complain a lot is really funny to me. So I gotta go Velocicoaster there. Although, if you're talking about Pipeline and Hulk, this is an interesting one. Hulk is a very intense ride. Some people describe it as rough. I don't think it is. I think Hulk is just intense and it's whippy. It's got the old school B&M, Werner Stengel design where if it's gonna go through a 0G roll, it's gonna whip you through it. Pipeline is much more graceful, but again, the feeling of your feet leaving the floor is really, really cool. One thing that holds Hulk back a lot to me is the onboard audio. I do not like Hulk's onboard audio at all. I think it's really annoying after like one ride. Like if you ride it once, that's fine. And that's what they're going for with stuff like that. But if you're someone like me who's going to ride this thing over and over again while you're there, the onboard audio really starts to get annoying pretty fast. Pipeline doesn't have that, and then it has the incredible airtime moments. Originally I was leaning this way, but I think I'm going to go this way. Manta, SeaWorld Orlando, Incredible Hulk V2. I gotta go Manta on that for kind of the same reason. If you're giving me Kraken and Incredible Hulk, I like Kraken, but I think I gotta go Hulk there. And then Hagrid's definitely above. Batwing at SFA and Batman the Ride at Six Flags Over Georgia. This is probably closer than it should be. I love Batwing to death. I absolutely love the classic Vekoma Flying Dutchmans. I think Firehawk at Kings Island ran better, probably because it was better taken care of. But Batman the Ride Over Georgia is very, very hard to beat. It's the B&M Batman clone that I've been on that runs by far the hottest, and it runs so fast. In row 8, it's just out of this world intense. It's so whippy. I gotta go that way. Although if you're giving me Batwing against Superman Ride of Steel, I gotta go Batwing. A Wild One at SFA, Superman Ride of Steel. I'm gonna go Ride of Steel. That might ruffle some feathers. Joker's Jinx Wild One. Wish I had ridden Wild One more. I rode Joker's Jinx twice, and I do like Joker's Jinx. Daredevil Dive is okay. I gotta go Wild One there. Skywinder, Daredevil Dive. I think I'm gonna go Skywinder here, actually. I'm looking down. We're at about 40 minutes, and I'm only 49% through, so we gotta get working here. Roar at Six Flags America, Daredevil Dive. I'm actually gonna go Roar there. I thought that was a pretty good ride, and then Daredevil Dive and Raging Cajun. If Daredevil Dive did anything cool after the mid-course, I think it would probably be a better standing, but it just kind of meanders around after the first couple elements. I gotta go Raging Cajun. Although Daredevil Dive is definitely better than Firebird. This is harder than it should be. Cosmic Coaster, Kid Flash Cosmic Coaster against Firebird. I'm gonna go Firebird there. Ooh. I don't know why I really said that. This is a pretty easy choice. Twisted Cyclone is kind of like it's the lower end of RMCs of the hybrid coasters. It's good. It's really good. It's just so short. And Airy Force 1 does run the Gen 2 RMC trains, which I really prefer, and the airtime on this thing is out of this world. That's where we're going. Battle between the top two at Six Flags Over Georgia. Goliath is a pretty near to the top tier B&M hypercoaster, whereas Twisted Cyclone is a lower end RMC. Goliath is really good at what it does, while Twisted Cyclone is as well. Goliath has the length to back it up. Twisted Cyclone, Georgia Scorcher. Twisted Cyclone, I think. Georgia Scorcher and Superman Ultimate Flight. I gotta go Ultimate Flight here. Scorcher and Riddler Mindbender. I think I'm actually gonna go Scorcher here. Blue Hawk and Mindbender. This might be unpopular. Again, if I had ridden this in its old form and its original Schwarzkopf trains, I might go this way, but I think I'm gonna go with Blue Hawk. I was actually pretty impressed by this ride. Woodstock Express at Kings Island against Riddler Mindbender. I think I'm going to go with Riddler Mindbender on that one. Great American Scream Machine at Over Georgia, Woodstock Express. If Great American Scream Machine did anything, I'd probably pick it, but it just doesn't. It doesn't give any airtime. It's kind of a classic William Cobb design where it just kind of meanders around. There's airtime hills that don't really give airtime, and it's rough. I wouldn't say it's like hurt rough, but it's enough that it's noticeable. I'm actually going to go with Woodstock Express here. Although if it's against Hurricane, I got to go Great American Scream Machine. Mine Train against Hurricane, I got to go Mine Train. Joker Funhouse Coaster against Hurricane. Funhouse Coaster. Now this is a tough one. Montu at Busch Gardens Tampa against Mystic Timbers at Kings Island. Both elite coasters in my mind. However, I think I do hold Mystic Timbers in slightly higher regard than Montu. I like Montu. I love Montu. But I gotta go Mystic Timbers. Orion and Montu, also pretty tough. But I think I gotta go with Kings Island again. And pick Orion there. Montu and Demon, that's Montu. Demon and Cobra's Curse, I gotta go Demon. Little Dipper, Cobra's Curse, that's Cobra's Curse. Tigress, Little Dipper, Tigress. Gringotts and Little Dipper, Gringotts. Galaxy Spin and Little Dipper. I'm actually going to go for the little guy here. I'm going to go with Little Dipper for that. Back row on that, actually pretty decent. Galaxy Spin and Woodstock's Air Rail. Galaxy Spin's okay. And if this was Raging Cajun, I'd pick it. But I got to go Woodstock's Air Rail. Although I will take Galaxy Spin over Sprocket Rockets. Oh, I really don't want to pick Mind Blower here. It's not good by any means. It's unfortunate. I just really do not like Timberliner trains at all, but I do have to give it the edge over Sprocket Rockets. Oh, here we go. Here we go. This is like the matchup of the video. I wish this had been held up. This had held on till the end. Iron Gwazi, Velocicoaster. This is the battle for best coaster in Florida, and it's not a question. Mako doesn't hold up there. Pipeline's not in it. The B&Ms aren't there. It's Velocicoaster, Iron Gwazi. These rides are elite and near the top of elite status. I have a very strong feeling at the end of this video, the one I pick here is going to be 1. The one I don't pick is going to be number 2. If I have to ride one once, I'm given the choice of Velocicoaster, Iron Gwazi. I love the theme of Velocicoaster a lot. I love the launches. The launches are phenomenal. It's got the Outer Banks. It's got the Mosasaurus roll. Iron Gwazi has the death roll. The first drop is incredible. This kind of surprises even myself, maybe. I don't know. This is so tough. This is probably the most 50-50 matchup I've had to this point. These two are so hard to pick between. Oh, this is tough. I think in the end, though, I am leaning Velocicoaster. So that is going to be the pick. Pipeline, while very solid, it's not elite like Iron Gwazi is. Kumba's got the legendary status over Pipeline. I like Kumba. That's where we're going. Pipeline over White Lightning for sure. Manta over White Lightning. Incredible Hulk over White Lightning. Hagrid's. Kraken. Icebreaker. Good choice there. Air Force 1 against Batman the Ride over Georgia. Batman the Ride over Georgia runs really hot. Really good ride. But Air Force 1 is an elite ride. No doubt about it. Goliath over Georgia. Batman the Ride over Georgia. This is close. I think these are the best 2 rides at that park. I think Batman the Ride is over Twisted Cyclone. But between these two, it's Goliath. And here we go. Right after it, I just said it. If it was... I might even pick the Great America Batman over Twisted Cyclone. Again, Twisted Cyclone good, but it's just so short. I gotta go Batman. Batwing or Twisted Cyclone. We're going Twisted Cyclone. Batwing or Superman. Here you go. The standard B&M flyer. The standard Vekoma flyer. Unpopular opinion, maybe. I like Batwing. Superman Ultimate Flight or Superman Ride of Steel. If I could have ridden it with the new trains this past season, I probably would pick Ride of Steel, but I'm going to go Ultimate Flight. Same reason I'm going to pick Scorcher. I will take Ride of Steel over Blue Hawk, though. Joker's Jinx, Blue Hawk. I think Joker's Jinx is the better ride. Wild One or Blue Hawk. It's Wild One. Skywinder or Blue Hawk. I think I'm going to go Blue Hawk just because the layout's a little bit longer. I do like Skywinder. It kind of is like the bare minimum of what an SLC should be, but I got to go Blue Hawk here. Mindbender, Skywinder. This might also be pretty unpopular. There are a lot of people, even to the end of its life, did not like Skywinder after the update. I thought it was pretty good, so I'm going to go that way. Roar or Mindbender. Another maybe unpopular one, but I think I'm going to go with Roar. Raging Cajun or Mindbender. That one I got to pick Mindbender. Woodstock Express or Raging Cajun. Raging Cajun. Daredevil Dive, Woodstock Express. I'm going to pick Daredevil Dive. Firebird or Woodstock Express. Firebird just really was not good. If I had to pick right now which one I'm riding, I'm probably going to pick Woodstock Express just because Firebird just, it was so rattly. Over Georgia, or Great American Scream Machine, Firebird. Same reasoning. Firebirds can't enjoy. Even Great American Scream Machine, I think I can get some enjoyment out of, but I just can't. I couldn't out of Firebird. Mine Train, another ride that was kind of even on the Mine Train scale. I said before in previous episodes, I'm a pretty big Mine Train fan, but I think I would actually choose Firebird over that. Although, I'm not picking Kid Flash over Joker Funhouse Coaster or the Mine Train. Okay, I will pick those over the Hurricane. That's not close. Mystic Timbers at Kings Island, Velocicoaster Iowa. While Mystic Timbers is really good, it's not going to beat Velocicoaster or Iron Gwazi. And honestly, I think I got to take Kumba as well. I will take Mystic over Pipeline. This one's closer than it probably should be. Orion is really good, really smooth. The operations on it are phenomenal. You got to if you're mentioning Kings Island, you got to mention the operations. I actually got the chance when I went to Over Georgia. I met up with a group of ride operators from Kings Island. Absolutely awesome group of people. Really awesome. I got to hang out with them a little bit, and I think that's actually going to push Orion over the edge. I know it's mostly coasters, but I think the people in the operations also can make a coaster what, you know, the best it can be. While I do like Pipeline a lot, Orion is pretty hard to beat the more I think about it. So we're going Orion. Between Monsu and Pipeline, I'm also going to go Monsu. The Demon at Great America and Pipeline, we're going Pipeline. Manta at SeaWorld Orlando and Demon, I got to go Manta. Incredible Hulk version 2 or Demon, I got to go Hulk. Same with Hagrid's. Kraken and Demon's probably a little bit closer than it should be, but I got to go Kraken there. And Icebreaker. Although, if it's over White Lightning, I think I'm going to go with Demon. Cobra's Curse BGT, also really good. There's so many good coasters in this flight. Oh my goodness. There's a lot of good coasters in here. Cobra's Curse. Between these two, I'd actually go with White Lightning. I'd pick Scorpion over Tigress. Oh man, if Cheetah Hunt didn't crush my shoulders, this would be so much higher ranked. I gotta go Tigress. Oh, given the choice between Gringotts and Cheetah Hunt again, I think I'd pick Cheetah Hunt. Gringotts without a doubt over Rip Ride Rocket. I think I'm even gonna pick Little Dipper over Rip Ride Rocket. Woodstock's Air Rail Rip Ride. I think finally we'll pick Rip Ride Rocket. Okay, here we go. Here's another tough one. Air Force One Velocicoaster. The fact it's even a conversation is a testament to how good this thing is. The fact that it's at a Fun Spot park is crazy. Absolutely crazy. Velocicoaster is the better ride, but the fact that it's even close, that a universal level attraction, universal level coaster is even close with one at a Fun Spot is crazy, but it's Velocicoaster. Iron Gwazi Air Force One. This is also pretty close. Again, the airtime on Air Force One is out of this world. And I actually think I'm going to go with the little bit of an upset here. The airtime on that double up into the I haven't even mentioned the arcade roll yet. It's like a mini version of the Mosasaurus roll. I got to pick Air Force One there. I love Iron Gwazi a lot, and it's going to beat out Goliath here. But wow, Air Force One's that good. Goliath over Georgia or Kumba. I gotta go with Goliath. Batman or Kumba, it's Kumba. Batman over Georgia or Mystic Timbers. I gotta go Mystic Timbers. Orion or Batman. I gotta go Orion. Monsu at Busch Gardens Tampa or Batman the Ride at Over Georgia. This is also fairly close, but Monsu's longer runtime gives it the edge. Batman is just so intense for that little layout, especially this one. But yeah, we're gonna go Monsu there. I gotta go Pipeline. I'm gonna take Batman the Ride over Manta. I'm gonna take Twisted Cyclone over Manta. Gonna take Batwing over Manta as well. Manta is better than the Ultimate Flight at Over Georgia, though. Hulk is better than Ultimate Flight. Hagrid's. This one's a little tougher. I think I'm gonna take Ultimate Flight, but I will take Kraken over Georgia Scorcher. Icebreaker, Scorcher. I'd take Icebreaker. I'd also take Demon. Cobra's Curse. White Lightning. Again, Georgia Scorcher is a really good ride for a stand-up. The problem is it's a traditional stand-up. It's like your feet, your calves will hurt after a couple re-rides. And White Lightning, it's just comfortable. The Millennium Flyer trains are that good. We're going that way. Between Scorcher and Scorpion, though, I gotta go Scorcher. Ride of Steel. Joker's Jinx. Wild One. Blue Hawk. Skywinder. This one's a little bit closer, but I think I still gotta go Roar. Between Scorpion and Mindbender. A lot of people I think would pick Mindbender, and I think I will too. I do like Scorpion. Don't think I don't like Scorpion. I do. But I like that Mindbender is a more original layout. I love that it travels through the forest, the 2 loops. Really good. Scorpion I take over Raging Cajun. Unpopular opinion, maybe. Raging Cajun I'd take over Tigress. Although I would take Tigress over Daredevil Dive. Again, if Cheetah Hunt didn't kill my shoulders, I'd pick it easily, but I gotta go Daredevil Dive. Cheetah Hunt right there. Gringotts. This is pretty tough. I do think the airtime off the back row on the first drop on Little Dipper is slightly better than Woodstock. And I think that's going to be my reasoning. I also love the entrance for Little Dipper where it has like the sign up above and you walk up. I think that's pretty cool, so we got to go there. Between Rip Ride Rocket and Woodstock Express, man, I just was not a fan of Rip Ride Rocket. I have a friend of mine that's not, I don't think is going to be is going to have the same opinion I do though. Number 2 is this is by far the furthest in we've gotten. There's a lot of good coasters in this list. Rip Ride Rocket, Great American Scream Machine it over Georgia. That I gotta go Rip Ride Rocket. Woodstock's Air Rail, Great American Scream Machine. I gotta go Scream Machine there. Air Rail, Firebird. Firebird does not have a whole lot of redeeming qualities. So I'm gonna go Air Rail. Although I would take it over Galaxy Spin. I'll take Galaxy Spin over Mine Train. Oh man. I think I'm gonna take Mine Train over Mind Blower. Mind Blower is just not good. And I mean, they're already retracking it with RMC Steel Track. So hopefully it gets better, but it's just not good in its current iteration. Although I will take it over Funhouse Coaster. Funhouse Coaster is more unique than Sprocket Rockets, so we're going to lean that way. I'll take Sprocket Rockets over. And that is finally our list. That is by far the longest we've made it. We're at 56 minutes right now, so this one's probably going to run a little bit over an hour as we take the break down here, but let's look at our top 10. Moving on to our championship round. Velocicoaster Islands of Adventure at number 1. Airy Force 1 at number 2. And I was wrong, so Iron Gwazi did drop to 3. I did pick Airy Force 1 over Iron Gwazi, and I think I'm going to stand by that choice. Airy Force 1 is a really good ride. Really good ride. Goliath over Georgia, number 4. That's higher than I thought it would be, actually, at the end. Kumba, Busch Gardens Tampa at number 5. Mystic Timbers at Kings Island at 6. Orion, Kings Island, number 7. Monsu at Busch Gardens Tampa at number 8. Number 9 is Pipeline, the Surf Coaster at Seaworld Orlando, so that does advance. And Batman, the ride at Six Flags over Georgia also advances. So in our championship round, we will have 2 Batman clones. And then just outside of our top 10 here, I wondered if these 2 would get in. Twisted Cyclone just outside, the only RMC, I guess Jersey Devil didn't, but the only RMC hybrid coaster that has not made a top 10 is Twisted Cyclone. And honestly, had it been in the first flight, it probably would have, and that's kind of the interesting setup here. Batwing, Six Flags America, number 12, also just outside. I think Firehawk also was just outside, so the Flying Dutchmans do not make the top 10. Superman Ultimate Flight, 16. Kraken at number 17. Demon at 19. It's probably about right for where I would put it. Cobra's Curse, 20. White Lightning at 21, I think is pretty solid. This is a pretty solid ride. Especially for the park it's at. It serves its purpose really well, I'd say. Ride of Steel being this low makes me kind of sad. I like Intamin a lot, but the trains with those 2 guards on the side of the lap bar were just not comfortable at all. Wild One at number 25, right in the middle. Blue Hawk over Georgia. Skywinder 27, Roar at 28. Cheetah Hunt this low. Again, if it didn't crush my shoulders, this ride actually might be top 10. I don't know if it would quite get there, but it would be close. The 2 family wooden coasters right next to each other. Rip Ride Rocket at 38. Mine Train, the Cosmic Coasters, and the 2 milers down here at the bottom. That's not surprising at all to me. But yeah, I think there's not a whole lot of a big amount of surprises here. There's a lot of good coasters in this list. This is the one that's gone by far the longest. A lot of good coasters. But rounding out a top 10 and moving on, highlighted right there. If you've made it this far yet again, Thank you very much. If you've made it this far through the first 4 episodes of my coaster rankings, thank you the most. Thank you for not skipping to the end, episode 6. But that's all I've got for you in this one, and I will see you all in the next one.